Hi, you've joined us in the Guitarist magazine studio. I'm Jamie Dixon.
I'm Neville Martin.
I'm Richard Barrett.
So today we've got one of the most talked about guitars of the year here, the PRS John Mayer Silver Sky Electric. So let's address the mammoth in the room straight away. Although it's an original PRS design, it does look undeniably like a Fender Stratocaster. And given that John Mayer used Strats for years before he and Fender parted ways, it's perhaps unsurprising that this has become such a sort of hot topic of debate in the guitar community. We're going to try today to put all of the controversy, the hue and the cry to one side and try and judge this new guitar on its own merits. We've got a couple of guitars here to compare it against. We've got a custom shop Strat, we've also got Knaggs solid body with which is also a sort of 3 single coil platform. And we're going to take a look at the spec and features of this guitar, try some sounds out and see what we all think about it. So as if by magic, 2 more guitars have appeared for the purposes of comparison. But first let's do a walk around of this guitar and maybe bring Nev and Richard in at this point to talk about some of the features on the Silver Sky. So first up, it's a real blend of old and new, isn't it, really? Because you've got a sort of vintage radius, a sort of 7¼ inch radius on here. Mm-hmm. The neck itself, PRS are calling a C/D profile, so it's quite full here towards the 12th fret, and as you go down it's got a nice little taper on it. And as you get to the headstock, obviously things diverge from the classic platform quite a lot here. It's a reverse PRS shape headstock, and it's got the locking tuners, and that's probably the most contentious feature of this guitar in some ways, wouldn't you agree, Nev?
Well, it's a PRS headstock on another shaped guitar. Nothing wrong with that. It's been done many times before. Lots of other people make guitars based on that platform because it's such a brilliant platform. It's worked for over 60 years. So, you know, lots of manufacturers have built their main brands on that platform. Yes. And this is PRS's headstock, so why wouldn't they use their headstock? Yeah,
I mean, and there is that side of the argument, isn't there, that how does this differ perhaps from what Sir turns out, companies like that, you know, even sort of Tom Anderson to a lesser degree. We've seen lots of people play around with this classic platform sort of format, haven't we?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I'm guessing that one of the things that will attract someone to it, apart from being a John Mayer fan, for example, will be the well-known quality of PRS.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love the neck. I've only played it for a few minutes, but it really feels nice. I like the finish on it. The finish feels great. I like the colour of it. They've really made it look classy.
I agree, and I thought the fret ends are beautifully finished.
Yeah,
it really feels great. And at the top end of the neck, the axis is really nice. I don't know if perhaps the sort of PRS style cutaway sort of helped a little bit with that. It felt great.
Okay.
So you've got, and just as a point of detail, there's a nitro finish on the neck, and you've got a polyester polyurethane finish on the body itself. So typically this will be a nice thin one from PRS. It's certainly not caked on or anything like that. And the control cavities have been left unfinished, and the idea being that it lets the wood breathe a little bit over time. Yeah.
One thing I'd quickly add on the neck is that having played it, it's a 7.25 radius, the original Fender radius. It doesn't feel like that. You don't automatically think, oh, this is all wrong. It feels great. And
I was really surprised.
Yeah, you're not aware. You're not aware of that at all.
Yeah. And the frets are beautifully finished. They're a little bit taller than straight vintage ones, but they feel very, very nicely sort of executed here. So, what are your further thoughts, Richard, on the whole kind of feel and handling of the guitar?
I like some of the, I guess you could call them upgrades from the traditional design. I like the arm with the plastic collar on it. It means you don't have to carry any plumber's tape in your guitar case. I like the way that the tone control is configured. I know that we've seen that before, but I do like that.
And just for the benefit of anyone watching, the bridge pickup has its own tone control here as well, which is a sensible mod that a lot of people will do to their Stratocasters, for example. Push fit trem arm is what you were saying, which is
yes, I do like that.
Yeah. One thing that's worth pointing out is the pots here. When you actually start sort of using the knobs, it's not got a lot of resistance to it. it doesn't feel cheap, it just feels fast. So actually it could be quite a sort of nice detail if you like, you know, sort of riding the volume control and using that expressively.
I think people are split down the middle as to that, because some people like it to feel a lot of resistance, so it stays where it was, and you don't accidentally just touch it and it's gone somewhere else. But other people do like that fast thing.
Yes.
I don't really have a huge preference. I just don't like it to feel cheap. That's all.
Yeah. I think there's a few things here which are maybe a little bit more divisive. If you look at the sort of photography of this instrument when it came out, it looks like the tuning buttons are made of like an alloy, but they're actually not. They're plastic, and it's certainly a debatable point whether that sort of chimes with the rest of the sort of high-end vibe of this instrument.
No, as a purely aesthetic thing, I don't like it that much. I would prefer the little white Gibson type plastic buttons if you're going to have.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, there is a precedent for plastic buttons, isn't there? I suppose, but yeah, I have to say I'm not loving those.
But that's what that's the shallow shaped tuner button, and PRS has used that for years and years and years. So that's their style, and that matches the body. You know, I'm not going to criticise it because somebody might not like the green guard on my Strat. So you know.
Yeah, so we're into sort of matters of aesthetic taste there, really. But as an overall feel, it feels very polished, poised, and accomplished, and it's quite surprisingly unshowy, isn't it? It's not a sort of bling guitar. It feels functional.
And PRS, they know how to make a guitar. They know how to set up a guitar.
Yes,
they know how to get a guitar out of the box, and you're comfortable with it. And you know, I'm a Strat player. You're a Strat player. You're a Strat player. We all play other things as well, but when you pick that up, you want it to feel familiar. You don't want a guitar that looks like that with that configuration to feel like, you know, like a silly skinny neck or a.
Yes, and there's no need. It's kind of becomes a vanity project if you want it to feel radically different to anything that's come before, whether that be good or not.
Yeah, everything gels with it. You know, it's not a weird neck on a familiar body. It's just everything works. I think it works really well.
Okay, so in that sense, you could say this is not as controversial a guitar as it might appear if you just read the write-ups on the internet. It is a take on a classic platform design, isn't it?
It's almost like, you know, if Gibson made a Strat, you know what would happen on the internet. It would light up. And PRS are kind of the next one along, if you like, from Gibson. You know, they're a target if you want to make them a target, and people like to knock the big guys, and you know, so it's not surprising that but just forget that for a minute, because it's been done so many times before. Everybody's made a Strat type guitar.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd read a couple of those things when I knew that we were going to be doing this, and I wanted to read up a little bit about it. Having picked it up, though, I know we've talked about the neck a little bit already, but it really is a beautifully shaped neck. And it's beautifully set up out of the box.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a little walk around the guitar. Shall we plug in and try some sounds as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to play? Here's a Fender Strat. Why don't we play this first? Hear what a basic Strat sounds like.
Yep.
And then hear what that sounds like compared to a basic Strat.
Sounds good. So you say basic.
It's a custom shop Strat, but it's got fat 60s pickups in it. It's an alder body, as that's an alder body. It's got 3 single coils, it's got rosewood fingerboard, as that has, a slab board, as that has, and it's got a maple neck, as that has. So essentially, you're dealing with the same tools.
Yeah.
Yes, as close as we'll get, probably, isn't it?
It is, and so let's see what they sound like.
And Richard, you've got a guitar we'll come to as another comparison, which is a different vision of a 3 single coil platform, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, they've departed a bit more from the kind of classic thing, though the neck has still got that lovely 60s round shape to it. Yeah, Knaggs chop tank.
Okay, so Knaggs chop tank, custom shop Stratocaster, PRS John Mayer Silver Sky. Let's have at it and see what the sounds are coming out like.
Okay.
So that's the benchmark, isn't it? A really nice rounded tone, nothing, you know, that sort of pliant kind of, but still quite penetrating tone. But
it's got the highs, but they're not too sharp. I don't know quite how to describe it in a way that hasn't been done so many times already. It's a fairly flat frequency response that includes the highs and lots of.
Yeah.
And we've said before, this is actually quite a warm sounding Strat,
it is.
even amongst other Strats. So, do you want to hear a little bit more of this one? Some of the other pickups?
Go on some of the other pickup controls. Because again, is this a 5-way selector here? So why don't we just go quickly through the 5 ways? The 5-way, and see what each selection sounds like.
Okay, and just to remind you, playing through a Fender Blues Junior, a sort of woody version, so it's a bit of a posh one, but still the Blues Junior you know and love. So we heard the neck pickup. This is the intermediate position. It's the middle pickup. Okay, this is bridge and middle. And finally bridge. Okay, so switching to the John Mayer Silver Sky, and we're going to start with the neck pickup. Okay, neck and middle. Middle. Bridge and middle. And finally bridge. Okay, so thoughts?
It's a little bit brighter than this one, I'd say, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would. Yes, I'm hearing tiny little bit extra power. I believe they are hot vintage would be the kind of classification, wouldn't it?
They're a little over 6.3. That's it. They're a little over 6K.
And I'm hearing the kind of slightly more apparent, I think it's called a resonant peak, isn't it? I'm getting into my jargon today. I hope everyone's impressed with that. So there's slightly, what is it, a 300k volume pot with a cap on it that brings it down to about 275. So brighter than the 250k that you find in, you know, a more standard design. So I feel that I'm hearing that, you know, all other things being equal, you might get a brighter guitar or less so. So I'm hearing all that. So I bet you wish you hadn't asked now.
Well, there's certainly a lot of clarity there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And if you think about John Mayer's style, those beautiful sort of floating notes, those serene, sort of polished, poised notes.
And especially the chordal stuff, where he's playing kind of, you know, post-Hendrix style, kind of Curtis Mayfield kind of rhythmy licks.
Yeah.
You need that clarity. You know, this might be a bit too muffly for that kind of sound. I don't know, but that clarity helps that kind of playing, I think.
that's a different kettle of fish altogether, isn't it?
It is, isn't it, actually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was, while you were playing, I was thinking, am I being daft, but can I hear the mahogany in it?
Yes.
Can I hear that?
Yeah.
That it's a much more robust sound than either of these. It's taking it somewhere slightly different.
Yeah.
Obviously, the sonic character's there, but it's taking it somewhere slightly different.
I'm hearing plenty of snap in it, but yes, there's other things going on. Yeah.
And just to say, the Silver Sky is an older bodied guitar, very much on the classic sort of Strat type design.
And this is a glued neck as well, which I'm guessing is going to have some kind of influence over it. You can see that I have actually taken the cover off and have the screw holes. I like that.
So have I.
Ah, you see, I had mine done specially.
Did you?
Well, that's worth pointing out, actually. If you look on the back here, the vibrato cavity doesn't actually have any screw holes. It's designed to be open like that, which is presumably what John's preference is, with 4 springs on there.
And I definitely think when you're a touring guitar player, you kind of don't want to be taking that cover off all the time.
You don't.
I think, I agree. And I think when you play this guitar, you find evidence throughout it of thoughtful decision making. So it doesn't feel like it's not a complacent guitar. It's not one that's they've just bashed out to be like a Strat. You can find from the neck, which is feels beautifully tailored, to John Mayer's preference. But I think a lot of players will find that very comfortable and feel at home on that.
Oh, yeah.
2 little details, like the heel is rounded off. We've got a little bit of a radius there on it,
Well, that's the classic PRS.
Yeah, classic PRS.
It is,
cut,
isn't it?
But as I was saying earlier, I also think it functions quite well. The access is really good.
Yeah.
When I picked it up, when I first got here earlier and just had a little play with it, I thought it was really comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's certainly not a radical reimagining of a Stratocaster style guitar. A thoughtful one, yes. I mean, I suppose the other thing that is worth mentioning is in the UK, its retail price is about £2,600. I believe the first 500 of these guitars will come with a PRS hard case, and then the rest of the production run will come with a new style of soft case. So essentially a gig bag, probably quite a posh one, but a gig bag nonetheless. That's got a few people's backs up, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has also got a scarfed-on headstock, which I don't really. I mean, they do that to save timber.
Yes,
so
it's apparently very strong as well.
And it's very, very strong. I don't know what I think of that.
Yes, because when it's a maple neck in any case, then the strengthening might not be an issue.
And they don't do that on their mahogany necks.
I mean, it's nicely executed, isn't it? But you can see it in certain lights. You can see it's a scarf joint. There it is. Headstock's got quite a strong back angle on it, hasn't it, as well? Which is
well, that's the classic pitch headstock that PRS does.
That's right.
Like Gibsons and stuff.
The kind of controversy, or the stir that this has caused, does seem, when you get it in your hands, it seems all out of proportion to what is at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I must say that I'm not particularly interested in the politics of kind of bashing anything. I think just picking up as a guitar, it felt really well made. I like it. I don't know about demographics or anything like that. That's not really my specialist field anyway. But as a guitar player, then I picked it up and it felt really good, and it did that S-type thing very well.
Yeah, exactly. And price-wise, it's UK price. It's about 500 quid less than a Fender Custom Shop Strat is in the shop. So I'll tell you what would be interesting. We haven't tried it. We've got a Friedman Dirty Shirley, which is essentially a 40-watt Marshall style amp, but with more gain behind us. It might be nice to plug it into that, see how it fares.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's hear it through a different amp. So who fancies having a shot on it? I've already had a little go.
Richard can do it. He's the player here.
Okay, Richard, you'll be our stunt guitarist for this. Okay, so playing the PRS John Mayer Silver Sky through a Friedman Dirty Shirley and a 1x12 cab.
Yep. It's a Celestian creamback.
Okay,
75.
I kind of like where you get the bridge pickup happening there and the tone control on about 8. It just takes off a little bit of that spiking as if you want that.
Yeah.
But it is there if you just reach down. And...
Yeah, I often find on my Strat, which I use on stage quite a lot, that I tend to have, and I think you probably might do on that, I play as a norm with it back to about 7 or 8. So that's my bridge pickup sound. Then I've got the option to take it back for the Angusy thing, or just if you want extra brightness, you can do that.
But better to have it and not need it.
Yeah, which is probably what John Mayer does. I know Eric Johnson does that.
Yes, certainly does. Yeah,
and it's a good way. So if you think, well, my standard position for my tone control is 8, and I can go down from there or up from there, makes it a very usable guitar.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, there we are. The John Mayer, the PRS John Mayer Silver Sky. Go out and try one and decide for yourselves.